So it's again me, Sarah, with my co-host Rafael, and again, as always, I'm bringing something on my plate. Have your wife and daughter in the jungle with a man or a bear? It's something that is going on social media, and I had to ask you about it.
It is what's going on. Now, let's just put something aside. My wife, Chandra, was born in the jungle
I
in
know.
a war
She's
zone,
killed.
so I don't know who'd be in more danger, the bear or the man.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen this trend. Things are going around like that,
Mm-hmm.
and these are all really interesting things to dive into. Yet, in the context of what we do here,
Okay.
what we do here is we teach people how to tune into and awaken the intuition of their thinking, feeling body, and the intuition is the sum total of all of our intelligences.
Wow. Okay.
That's why we've been talking about how important it is to take care of yourself physically, so that
Yeah.
your instincts, your natural, sort of animal instincts on how to live and survive can be at her peak, right? Then we want to be able to clear our intellect, our intelligence, our conscious intelligence. It needs to be as clear and clean as possible,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
That allows our intuition to tune in. So that means that physically I have to think about what foods I'm eating, because even though they might be toxic to my body.
Okay.
And intellectually, I need to think about what am I doing with my free time?
Okay.
Because there's so many trends, there's so many things that you can just go around and around and around and around, and you can still go to work, and you can still be with your friends and with your family, and all of that. But here's the thing about our intuition. Is an intuition is
Yeah.
what's your mind doing during that moment of intuition and creativity?
I'm there. I'm not
It's not there.
Yeah.
So what I've been practicing for the past 18 years and getting really good at, not just living that way but sharing it with people, is how to tune my intuition into different things. So Jantra, as a jungle woman, her intuition is around surviving and thriving in the jungle,
Okay.
right? So
You're not afraid of her being in the
I'm not
jungle?
afraid of her being in the jungle. As a matter of fact, if I'm in the jungle, I hope she's with me, because she'll protect me from whatever's out there and find food and be able to do everything.
Yeah.
However, I was born more of in a city environment, more of in the modern matrix. And it turns out that my intuition tuned into that, right? And if you're living in the, in the tundras in the Arctic,
Okay.
your intuition will tune into, well, polar bears, which
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
quickly, and snowflakes, which if you don't watch out could freeze you.
Yeah.
So how does that tie in? Well, it turns out that when my mind is on thinking about things, my intuition is off.
Okay.
So what I prefer to do is I prefer to eat the bodies that allow this body to be
So
as...
you're saying that the people that would go to the jungle or ask this question of like, would you rather be attacked by a man or a bear, are people that are using their brains and they're not using.
They're not tuning into the higher intelligence.
Which
So
is danger at first place.
At first place, because it prevents us from tuning into our highest intelligence. Our super consciousness comes through our intuition.
Okay.
So I would hope that whoever is in the forest or in the jungle somewhere, that rather than thinking about, I wonder what will happen if I see a bear or a man, would be, instead of thinking about that, would be tuning into their intuition. Because that's where your sensitivity comes through. That's where your natural intelligence to thrive comes through. All of life has it.
Okay.
We're the one life form that can get lost in our head, spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning.
Yeah.
And just like any other smart device, if I have apps running in the background, and I've got viruses spamming everyone, can I upgrade that operating system? Or must I turn off all the apps and close all the windows and empty the trash so that I have the bandwidth to upgrade myself? So we live in a world where there's so much information out there, and social media is just pouring it at us. It's like hurricanes of information and information.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about choosing to be selective with what you're going to do with your time.
Yeah.
Because if you're in survival mode, you don't have time to answer this question. You need to get the food and the resources to protect yourself and your family and your medicine. But if you have the discretionary time and resources to spend hours on your phone looking at social media,
Fighting over a bear or a man.
Fighting over a bear or a man, you could also be using that time to upgrade your intelligence and learn, for example, how do financial systems work? How can I improve, how can I tune my intuition to my work and my life, the things that I love to do? Because it's our highest intelligence, and it's a learning intelligence.
Okay.
We're not born with it. It turns on and it activates
As we grow.
as we grow, depending on where we are. Again, if you're born in the Sahara Desert, your intuition is going to be about that. If you're born in the middle of a hood somewhere, a neighborhood somewhere,
So it's like if I was left in the desert and I'm, coming from that, from that side, I would have the intuition of knowing like what is dangerous and what not.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So
Okay.
then you can play that game all you want.
Okay.
Or I prefer what we teach here is how to tune yourself in so you can focus and fine tune your intuition and your creativity.
No way is right for you.
Whatever financial level you're at. And then I have to be honest with you, I've seen this trend over and over again, and somewhere between 3 or 5 seconds, it just drops away. It's just like if you offer me a snack, I'll take a bite of it, but if it just doesn't taste right, am I going to keep eating it?
No.
Well, I guess if I'm starving, I'll eat whatever you give me. But if I can eat something, ingest something that will empower me and help me grow, it's part of my mindset.
Oh, okay.
So when it comes to all these trends, it's really important to learn how to select food for thought, right? Food for the body, who you're going to hang out with, what you're going to argue and discuss, because we do have a limited amount of time.
So you're saying like this trend is, like close to nonsense of like what to choose, or
well, it's literally nonsense, because unless you're in a forest where there's bears and potentially dangerous people, you can't sense it, right? There's nothing to sense. This body can sense. The mind can mentate, can philosophize. In the Middle Ages, we had very, very intelligent people arguing and discussing and writing treatises on how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. That's what they were arguing about. And it's like, well, are they dancing tango, which needs a lot of room, or are they in a mosh pit? Is it a big pin? Is it a small pin? Are they big angels? Are they little angels? Is it a panda bear? Is it a teddy bear? Is it a polar bear?
Is gonna sometimes having free time and you don't know how to tune into your intuition, you will end up like
just staying in your mind,
going through your mind and doing some nonsense.
And adding more content and adding more content and that fills up the bandwidth of this thinking, feeling, biocomputer, supercomputer algorithm.
Again, here
what are you filling it with?
We're teaching more or giving tips more around like how to use the body or the brain at the same time.
At the peak potential, so that you can thrive in all areas of life, having as much fun as possible.
To make more money as well.
To make more money so that I can then invest in myself, in my environment, because the more money that I make, I need a limited amount of money. I only need a certain amount of money to shelter and feed myself and my family. Right, well, but then what do I do with my extra time and my extra resources? That's it. And there are people out there that are very, very good at creating distractions. And the more distracted we are...
Do you see that like this trend is more like a distraction?
I see it more as a distraction from growing. Now, if you want to make an impression and do something within that circle, within this area, maybe that will help you in some way. But what if you're interested in something, interested in life and health and wellness and generating abundance to put back into the planet? I don't spend a lot of time following trends on social media. I watch them, I notice them, and I go, oh, that's so interesting. Some people are in this area. Okay, well, good for them. I tell you, if you love doing that and this is giving you everything you want from your life, please keep doing it. And then come up with a better question. We can just keep going and going. New trends, but new trends will keep coming. That's never going to end. We're always going to find distractions. It's never going to end. But here's what I know. If I want to catch a fish, I take something that is going to look yummy and juicy, and I'm going to put a hook on it. I'm going to throw it in there, and that's how I'm going to catch it. And if I want to keep people distracted, that's what we talk about clickbait. Bait. What is bait? Bait is something that draws you in, but for what reason and what do you want to do? Right?
So where do you think that this trend is going?
Where is it going? It's just going in a circle and a circle. It's just going to keep going, and then it'll get modified or die. So it'll get replaced by another question that'll just keep going, and this will keep going forever as long as we're doing things like that. It's going to keep going. There are people who are going to enjoy doing that.
But I guess the idea around this is pretty much would you feel safer if a man is there or a bear? It's like I have like less chances of being attacked by a bear, but I have like a lot of reasons.
A hungry grizzly bear or a hungry polar bear will eat you. If it can catch you, it will
But I guess like that's the maximum danger. I can just be eaten by a bear and that's it. I'm not gonna be tortured or anything that a man can do.
Well, sure, but a healthy person, a sick person, a balanced person, an out of balance person, a person who's living, a jungle person, Aboriginal that's living in that forest, is most likely to be really helpful. They're going to be a beautiful person that will help you. I have traveled around the world. I haven't been to Antarctica, but I've been on all the continents. I've been to over 36 countries. I've intentionally put myself in situations where I go to zero to see what would happen.
Oh wow.
And I find the most amazing and crazy as it may sound, the more vulnerable I am, the more interesting it is. So again, I am a man, and a woman would be asking a different question. We do live in a world where it is unsafe for women. And where we live, we're extra careful with our daughter as to what man will be the boat driver or the car driver or the babysitter who's going to come in. Part of what we do in this place is we run a place that helps empower women. So we're very, very careful and selective about the men that work at. When someone has an aggression or violence or negativity or any misogynist behavior from any male or any female, they are confronted and they are removed, because we want to create a safe space. We want to create a safe space where you can just feel safe and relax and fall asleep in.
I slept yesterday in the restaurant, literally.
Yeah, right. So because we're creating a safe space for them. I have trust and hope in humanity.
Yeah, it's
I
like the
feel very
trust and the
firmly that there
safeness.
are more safe men on this planet than unsafe men. This to me is still a fact to me. That there are people that are sick and
I
distorted
think
and perverted.
this has also a
there are.
relation with like masculine and feminine energy. Because if I have like the masculine energy, you wouldn't tell me like, okay, you cannot go to the jungle because it's dangerous. I can go there. I can just explore and do an adventure. But the stupid thing is like, if I don't have any skill, if I don't have any tools to protect myself at the same time.
Why would you go into the jungle alone in the first place?
Even if it's not a man there, if it's bears, snakes, like I would freak if I saw a little animal. So it's like the idea is around like, also why would you go to the jungle with no tools and no brain to think like, why am I putting myself into this dangerous position?
Right. That's the thing to consider. Is
Yeah.
Before you put yourself somewhere,
Yeah.
why don't you think about what you need to do that? For
Yeah.
example, I enjoy skydiving.
Okay.
I make sure my parachute has been folded properly. I fold it myself. I also make sure that I have a reserve chute, just in case, right? Because if that one doesn't work, well, and if I go out into the woods, I make sure that I have the right gear, I have everything that I need, and then I'm educated in what to do in that environment. That would be something to consider. But to just sit back and on my phone philosophize about something that, well, there aren't any bears here in the jungle, so it's not a reasonable. It has nothing to do with the question here, right? Here,
So it's not around like, yeah.
right? And a panda bear or a teddy bear or a
Yeah.
brown bear, well, they're kind of vegetarian, so they wouldn't attack you to eat you. But if you went into and tried to mess with a bear cub, that mama bear would be mauled.
The same time with man, like to be honest.
Well, if you tried to mess with my daughter, there's no way. If somebody comes in here and tries to mess with anybody, right? I'm going to be ready to fight back too.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a question of circumstances.
Okay.
But because there's all these different possibilities and circumstances,
You cannot put this as a trend and generate.
no, but it is an important question. If I were to go into a jungle, for example, when I got my pilot's license,
Okay.
before that I had to fly. Now I learned how to fly here in Thailand,
Okay.
and I had to fly to 3 different airports
Okay.
alone on my little airplane.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, okay, if this airplane for some reason crashes, I'm going to be in a jungle where there are crocodiles. There are potentially tigers. So I was on my way there and I stopped for lunch and I looked at the menu and I thought, what do I want to smell? If I'm going to crash down, I'm going to sweat, I'm going to be nervous, I'm going to smell like whatever I've eaten.
Oh wow.
Well, they just happened to have barbecued crocodile. And I'd never tasted it before. It was absolutely delicious. And I thought to myself, if only just psychologically, I want to smell like something that kills and burns and eats crocodiles
Okay.
versus something that just eats vegetables.
Oh.
Because in the jungle, I'm going to smell that. Now, would it have made a difference, yes or no? I don't know, but psychologically, it prepared me to go. If we crash, I smell like something that eats something that could eat me.
Yeah.
It might give them a second, they might think about it. They might, maybe I don't approach this guy. This guy smells like my cousin. Now, who knows, right?
Yeah.
But learn to prepare yourself for a situation that is actual.
Oh yeah.
If you live in a city, there's no bears, unless you go to the zoo, think about whatever you want. But also, what can I do to tune myself so that I can be more functional in my environment, so I can have a better quality of life? To me, that's more. So, yeah, I guess that's the best I can say is you're allowed to select the content that you go into. And if you know that you can tune yourself up, then how I eat, who I interact with, what I think about, what I watch, what I discuss, what I chase after, what I put my energy into is going to make a difference. Because if I'm letting my energy go out in all sorts of different directions, I'm getting distracted.
Yeah.
And if I want to start my company, if I want to go to the next level, if I want to grow tenfold, I don't have time to just watch cartoons all day or argue whether, what's more dangerous, this creature or that creature, or this situation, a man or a bear. Yeah. It's a question of what do you do with your time and your resources.
It doesn't mean, like, here's the thing, it doesn't mean that Rafael doesn't have that bandwidth to have fun all the time. The idea here is to prioritize where to spend the time and where to have fun.
And what to have fun with.
Exactly. And then ignore everything that is gonna activate like no sense of
And what I do is I go into it, I start looking, I start reading, and it's like it doesn't draw me in. Because I have higher values, higher priorities that I find more interesting. I'm always looking for better.
Okay.
Right? As John said, using your ladder to go up means that you're here and then you want to take the next step up.
Yeah.
Which then takes the next step up. I'm going in a direction. That's what attitude means, right? When I'm flying my airplane, my attitude on my airplane, it's a positive attitude, the airplane goes up. If it's neutral, it stays. If it's negative, it goes down. Now, when I take off, I need to go up, and then I need to go straight. And when it's time to go down, I need to go down. So I need all attitudes to get from one place to another. What are you doing next in your life? Choose where you are, figure out where you are and where you want to go, and then what's the attitude? What's the mindset? What's the approach? What are the skills I need to learn to get to the next level? Because one thing's for sure, we're always learning, and we're either learning how to grow or we're learning how to stay right. Keep going around and around, and the rut keeps getting deeper and deeper. And there's distractions along the way.
Yeah.
For what I'm doing in my life, to pursue that would be a distraction. Now, maybe a day or a year or a decade from now, something will come up that will be the most relevant, interesting thing for me. Because there aren't any rules. I'm not against it. It's just, here I have a choice between healthy food and artificially flavored fake food. And I'm going to go for the healthier one. But I have been in situations, I have been in situations where the healthiest food that was around was junk food. So I ate and enjoyed it. And had fun because I knew I was eating something that was at least clean and safe, because all the other foods scared me. Didn't seem hygienic for me, because I was in a foreign country where if I ate that, I wasn't sure I was going to stay healthy. So I chose to eat something that was, deep fried and completely dead of any microbes, because it was an unhealthy environment.
Yeah.
Right? It was dirty. It was just.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I am for everything, but everything has the right time, place, and situation.
Okay.
Right? So what am I going to watch? What am I going to read? What am I going to entertain?
Where
am I going to go? Is a question to ask yourself, should you have the interest in going somewhere? If you're interested in staying where you are, well, then do whatever makes sense to you. Just please be aware that you are wiring in staying at that level.
Yeah.
Or you're wiring in going up, or you're wiring in going down. Right? So there's something that I've learned in life coaching and in mindfulness and in hypnotherapy and neurolinguistic program, is the concept that we're successful at everything that we do. So if I walk out there and I get hit by lightning, I'm going to assume responsibility that I walked into the spot at the time that lightning hit. And by assuming full responsibility for everything in my life, it gives me an edge. And it helps me start choosing. I'm going to choose a better diet. I'm going to choose, again, for my body, for my heart, for my emotions, and for my mind. It actually does make a difference in a world of so many distractions and so many diversions and so many fake things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pseudoscience out there. There's a lot of fake foods. There's a lot of fake flavors. You want real vanilla or artificial vanilla? I'll go for the real one, right?
Yeah.
You want something that helps you grow and empower you so you can have a better life? I will go for that. Oh, it costs a little more. Then I'm going to work and I'm going to invest and I'm going to make that happen.
Exactly.
And by investing in that, I'm increasing my inner values, which then allows me to attract more because I'm enriching myself on the inside and on the outside. And that attracts people that can value.
Exactly. And that's what Rafael teaches on his program.
Yes, we teach people how to awaken their intuition and their creativity in whatever area allows you to thrive. And we're all born in survival mode, just necessarily. We can't do anything by ourselves. And with no fears. And then in the process, through our cultures, through just the way that we live, through the world that we live in, I'm very clear that we're all born ready to live in a beautiful world and thrive with everybody else. And the world world's been a bit of a mess for a while, but it just kind of seems to keep getting messier in some areas, right?
Yeah.
Some things are incredible. The technology, the fact that we can have this conversation, that we'll be able to do more things like this.
Yeah.
Amazing. The pollution, the wars, abuse of the environment, people getting exploited for money, for power, for politics. That doesn't resonate with me. Right? So I feel more into the healthy things. It makes sense to me to do things that leave a positive impact.
Yeah.
So I like following things that do more of that. So we're born in a world that's less than healthy, less than balanced, less than. So then it's up to us to choose to the best that we can. And some people have more choices, some people have less choices. But if you have the discretionary time to be scrolling through your social media, you could also be reading a book or taking a course or downloading some material or scrolling through some material. Start selecting the material, because what I notice on my social media is that every time I click on something, the algorithm feeds me more of it.
Exactly.
And every time I delete it without clicking on it, eventually the algorithm gives me less.
Yeah.
And then like a week later, it tries to sneak it back in.
Yeah, exactly.
So then, there it goes again. Click, and I get it out. Right? You choose the ads that you want. You choose your friends. You choose the content. I choose my foods. I choose my experiences.
I love it.
And then I see what is the effect of that on me and my life. And then I do whatever is more, whatever gives me a yummier experience. Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it has to be before yummy. It has to be yummy before, during, and after. And again, one of the things that for me I'm very clear about, and we teach people here, is that to be able to tune into my highest intelligence, to be able to tune into my highest creativity, to be able to go from unconscious instincts to conscious intellect to super conscious intuition and creativity, I have to use my leverage well. I have to choose what I'm going to do, and that means that I have to allow this guy up here to think about everything he needs to think about, and then slow down and pause and reset it, right? Just like when I go for a walk or for a run, my legs are running and doing, but then later they stop and they don't move.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? And I'm typing and I'm doing things with my fingers and then they stop. You turn your mind on. When does it stop? When does it stop? And again, that intuition, that creativity, these ordinary superpowers that we have are available to us when our minds are still and quiet. So if I keep adding more into it, run, and it gets clogged. Just like if I keep stuffing myself with food, at some point I'm going to get indigestion. And then I might get overwhelmed in my mind because I
get to see that, Rafael. Like, it's like sometimes you get to see this even as a meme. Like, I'm using Instagram for 5 minutes, then I'm bored, then I go to TikTok for 5 minutes, then I'm bored, then I go back to Instagram for 5 minutes. It's like go back and forth with apps, and like you're feeding yourself with that content.
You're not letting yourself be bored.
Exactly.
But one of the things that's very interesting to do, just as an experiment, right? Be a subjective scientist unto yourself. What's going to happen if I let myself be bored? I'm going to die of boredom. Well,
what if there is no Wi-Fi, no phones? Try that.
Right. What if you could just turn it off for a while?
Spend time
right?
with yourself.
And just spend time with yourself. What if you start discovering little insights, little pearls of wisdom, little nuggets, little nuggets of creating a space that allows boredom to nurture? It's like charging up a battery that allows a release of something. There's a creativity that occurs only through boredom. But if you distract yourself from it, then you never get it.
You don't get that.
Well, there are some fruits, for example. Here in Thailand, there's a fruit known as a mangosteen. A mangosteen is a dark red, beautiful fruit that has a thick shell. When you open it up, there's a beautiful little white, very, very sweet fruit. But the outside of the fruit is horribly bitter. So if you were to take a bite out of that, horribly, you throw it away. You don't realize that if you carefully slice it open, and you don't let the little red juice come in, that what's inside is extra sweet. And there are things like boredom and confusion that are unpleasant. They're yucky on the outside. They feel yucky. So you just throw it away. I'm trying to get bored. I'm going to do something else. Well, that sounds good.
That sounds like productive.
Yeah, but then what happens is that you miss what's inside, right? I've also studied gemology. I'm a gemologist, and because I'm interested in diamonds and portable wealth and bright, beautiful, shiny
Rafael,
things. I'm interested in everything in life.
Rafael, is there anything that you haven't done?
I haven't gone into outer space yet. That's the one thing I haven't done. I literally, when I was 40 years old, I said, I'm going to sell everything, and I'm going to go and I'm going to complete my bucket list. I think this was before the movie came out, but it was still this, I just want to experience. And when I tried a little bit of everything that I wanted to try, I completed myself and something reset within myself. But part of that required understanding and exploring my boredom. And how bored can I get? What will happen? Because I accept the fact that I was born with all of these body parts and all of these emotions and all of these sensations, all of these feelings. So if the universe, if God, if creation gave them to me, why would I reject them? I have to at least give them a chance. What have I discovered? That, well, diamonds are one of the most common stones. If you look at a diamond in the rough, it's an ugly black rock. You don't even know what you're looking at. You might have kicked one out of the way. That when you polish it the right way, right? And pearls start with a very annoying little grain of sand inside the poor little oyster, right?
Yeah.
And it turns that into a beautiful pearl. So what if some of the things that we find annoying and unpleasant that come naturally from us, right? Because the mosquito and the fly that's buzzing around your ear all night, that's annoying and unpleasant. But the internal things that come, we could give them a chance. So just every once in a while created a space that allowed you to, all right, well, what if boredom is a gift? But just covered in an unpleasant wrapping, right? And we allowed that to unwrap itself and unfold. What if there was an amazing treasure inside? And I discovered that I have amazing treasures inside of my boredom. That there is something valuable about understanding what confusion is. That allowing myself to feel a little low allows me to go down and find something that I can only find when I'm down here low, right? That allowing myself, creating a safe environment, of course, where I can allow myself to feel a little bit sad. That those tears, that sadness gives a depth to my emotions. That happiness is very superficial. So I can go from superficial distraction to superficial distraction, or I can allow myself to go a little deeper. I go a little deeper, I find really amazing, beautiful things. And yes, sometimes when you go a little deeper, you find a source of a trauma or a sadness or an anger. So then what do you do with it? Well, there are tools, and there are lots of people that are specialized in how to do that, and this is part of what we share as well, how to go in there and clear that. But just sitting on your couch and turning everything off and letting yourself be bored. What if
should this, that, and the other? It's just too much, overwhelming, especially when it comes to it.
And it's so easy to get overwhelmed.
Exactly.
And so then you grab a snack, and then you get this, and then you get another distraction, and then before you know it, the day's gone by.
Exactly.
And then a month, a year, a decade later,
we don't want to let you go through this space, and we don't want that happening to you. So if you want to make sure to live really in an abundance life,
and an abundance life of inner richness and outer wealth,
Rafael is going to do us a favor. You're going to distribute it related to a guide through your emotions and avoid distractions, this, that, and the other, right? So this is for today's episode. I want you to give a last
tip.
Regarding the bear, the man, the danger.
There are lots of dangers out there. There's relative dangers. There's physical dangers, and if you're in a situation where you're in a physical danger, please, by all means, do everything you need to take care of yourself, protect yourself, your family, your environment, from yourself, from everything.
Yeah.
But then there are sort of, metaphysical, existential dangers that you might not realize it, but you can spin your wheels and go around and around and around, and then a decade later, where are you? What have you lost? You've lost so many opportunities that life can offer you. Yeah. And the only way to understand them is to bring awareness into what you're doing and acceptance into, what if I'm supposed to feel bored? Right? I'll accept. What if I can accept boredom and just be aware of it and study it? What if something would come out that was so rich and so interesting that it's yummier than following this superficial trend or this superficial distraction? Because again, unless you actually live in a place where there's bears, it doesn't really apply. There's no bears here, so, but if it did, then obviously.
Yeah, I know what you would do.
Well, I would make sure that my daughter and my wife knew how to defend themselves from dangerous bears and dangerous men, and how to sense and feel their way around, and maybe even avoid them by being more present, more aware, and prepared for whatever. We never know what's going to come next, right? It's like that old story of you have 3 hours, take 2 hours and 45 minutes to sharpen it, and then chop it down.
Exactly. Well, that's for today's episode. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow this podcast. Make sure to send it to your friend that is always on the phone, sending you TikToks, videos, sending you reels. Tell them like, hey, there is a healthier way to do this. Follow the podcast. Make sure to get at least the tools for yourself. It is really, really easy, and yet like it's something that we have to practice when it comes up to becoming successful, right? So there are like things that you have to select for yourself, things that you have to choose, right? So mainly that's it for today's episode. So I'm gonna see you guys on the next one.